Oh, let's see. All right.
You
Just
good?
wait. Yeah, it says we're live.
All right.
Oh, we're live?
Yep, it's almost 7:00.
Oh, okay.
It is 7:00.
So how do you know how many people are watching?
You have to log into Facebook.
Oh.
Yeah. So we'll know afterwards. Anyways, good evening and welcome back to Women in Music Wednesdays presented by RnBuntapped.
Yes.
I am your co-host, Ronnie. And
I'm pretty good off.
all right. Let's get it started. Tonight we have with us CEO of Tree Media,
Yes.
Miss Tresa Sanders. She is an industry vet. She's worked with plethora of artists. Just to name a few, we have Mary J. Blige, Keisha
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
D'Angelo, Jay-Z,
Yes.
Escape,
Yes.
and Jagged Edge. And
That's a
this
hit
is just
list
to
right
name a few, 'cause I'm sure
there.
it's a lot more. So how are you doing tonight, Miss Sanders?
I am doing great. I'm honored to be on the show tonight. Thank you, ladies, for having me.
No
Thank you,
problem.
and thank
Anytime.
Drew as well.
Yeah, full disclosure, Drew is my son.
You wasn't gonna say it, but there we go.
I'm supposed to say, well, I gotta say it, right?
We were talking about that. Like, did we want to say that this was Drew's mom?
Support my son. Mom here.
Absolutely.
I'm very proud of him and all the work that he's doing. And I'm so glad that he's, like paying attention to what women do in the industry. So, I'm proud of
It's
him.
important. Women are a powerful force all over.
Exactly.
Yeah,
For
because
sure.
we run the world secretly. So, hey,
Everything.
yes. So, how are you doing? Just wanted to check in with you, see how you're doing with the climate that's going on right now.
Well, blessed and highly favored because, we haven't had in our immediate family, no one's been affected by the coronavirus. So it's been, pretty good. I do have friends who've been affected, and my heart goes out to them and my prayer goes out to them and their families, but it's real. It's very, very real.
It is. It is. We just have to encourage people to stay inside, stay safe and stay prayed up if that's what they're into,
Yeah, for sure.
And please stay inside. Let's say that again.
Stay inside.
I'm in Atlanta. Don't listen to the governor. Don't go to the beauty shop, the nail salon. Don't do it, Black people. Let's save ourselves.
Yes.
Let's
Amen.
ourselves. Let's wait until they open up the Pilates shops, okay? Let's wait until the tennis shops are open, okay?
Right.
And we can go
Or
outside.
let's wait till the governor's mansion is taking tours again, because they're not taking tours. So why should we be
For a
out?
reason. For a
Yeah,
reason.
for sure.
So
For
let's jump into this a little bit. So I was reading your bio a little bit, and it said that you were a cryptologist. Now you got to explain to me what that is. First of all, I know you worked in intelligence for the Navy, but you got to explain to me what a cryptologist is, because I found that so fascinating.
Yeah, I barely know how to pronounce it.
cryptologist.
Say it again for us.
Cryptologist.
Cryptologist. Okay.
Mhm. Yes. So cryptology is, like you said, special intelligence. It's the highest level of intelligence in the military. You can be a cryptologist or you can be an intelligence officer.
Okay.
And that's when you see, in layman terms, the best way that I can describe it is if you watch Scandal, the Situation Room, where you would see military people, the politicians, everybody inside of there making decisions. Or if you watch Homeland Security, and they're all coming up with different ideas, what's going over here on in this country, all of that is intelligence. So that is what I worked in, is intelligence, which is communications, pretty much. So it's spying,
Okay.
That's fine. Not for me. When I went in, I thought that I was going to be a Bond girl, 007. I was going to have my gun. I was doing it. I was so excited. And then I was like, okay, it's communications, right?
Got it. So how did
It's
you
misled.
go from being in the Navy to working in the entertainment industry?
I never planned on being in the entertainment industry. It was the farthest thing from my mind. I was not a publicist. I worked as an operations analyst for Walden Books, which then became Borders.
Okay.
So an operate IT. I was an IT professional. Hey, not music industry. Not at all. So one day I went to this parade in Brooklyn. It was so many years ago. It's the what are they Caribbean parade in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I ran into this guy that happened to be in the music industry. And he was real cool. We hung out up at the parade the whole time. I had my god kids with me. I just took them out there to Brooklyn. We were having a good time, met a new friend, and
Oh.
we became cool. He called me one day and he was like, do you know any singers? I had just gotten to New York, by the way. I had just gotten there. And I was like, yeah, I know some singers. I did not. Yeah, I do. He's like, because I know this producer that's putting together a girl group. And, if you could bring some girls by that sing, they might get an opportunity to be in this group. And I was like, okay. And he was like, have you ever heard of Daddy-O? I was like, no. So he was like, have you heard of Stetsasonic? I was like, yes, I've heard of Stetsasonic. I just didn't know who was in the group. So I happened to go to a hair care store the next day and I ran into this girl and she was super cute. I said, girl, do you sing? I'm not lying.
You did it.
And she was like, I do. And I was like, okay, because there's this producer, his name is Daddy-O. I don't know. He's looking for a girl group. So, let's go and get you to the audition. And she was like, okay, let's do it. That's like my first thing.
Right.
I'm not going to be looking crazy. Right. So she did, and she could blow.
Wow.
We set up the meeting and I put on my finest clothes. I had this silk orange. I'm from Flint, so it was bright. Pantsuit on. I had some snake skin. I was always fly. I was young. I was 21, 22. I was still fly, right? I put on these orange snakeskin shoes. I was like, fly. So we were like, we're going to play this role. You're going to get this gig. Truly. And so we went into the studio. It was Green Street Studios. I will never forget. Kedar Massenberg was managing Daddy-O at the time. He became the president of Motown eventually. Daddy-O was one of the biggest producers, quiet as it's kept, in music during the time. He was doing everything from hip hop to pop to reggae, you name it. He was like Red Hot Chili Peppers. He was producing their stuff. I had no idea. I was just as dumb as I could get, right? I was just having a good time, right? I'm in New York, I'm gonna have fun. So we went, they auditioned her and she got the part.
Wow.
And I was the manager and I was playing.
That's like divine. That
The
is
epitome of faking it till you make it, right?
Yeah. So exactly. So that was really my entree into the music industry. I had no idea. I was just having a good time. And I found this girl who could sing, who just happened to be able to sing. Went to an audition and she got in the group. And I developed a relationship with both Kedar and Daddy-O from that point on. Yeah.
Now I want to ask, what was that conversation like, with the artists and with Daddy on them to make sure that solid foundation, that you played the manager and there wasn't anything, in between?
Well, from that, for me,
Yes.
oh no, 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 no. There's never anything in between. Never, never.
It
I think I have a military background, so I'm very no nonsense. Even if I'm just having a good time, or I'm going into this studio, I'm your manager, even though it just happened 2 days ago, and we're going to get this gig. And I think they understood that I meant business because later on, I became my first client was Daddy-O as a publicist. So, it worked out.
it sure did, and it aligned perfectly for you. So that's amazing. So just to switch the conversation a little bit, your story is a little more unconventional. Can you touch on the fact, not finishing school, not going or finishing through the college? Can you touch? What are your thoughts about someone actually going to college versus jumping right into your career?
I think that, okay, so I have two thoughts and two minds. You have two minds of it, right?
Okay.
So I think that is really important to have an education regardless. Sometimes I feel like I want to go back to school and just finish up, right? So I think it keeps your mind sharp,
Okay.
and there's a lot of value to that, a lot of value. So even like getting your MBA or um, doctorate for those who want a doctorate, I think is important. I do not feel like you have to have an education to be successful. Some of the most successful people, Bill Gates, Ted Turner, multi-billionaires do not have a 4-year education. They also dropped out of school, but that doesn't make it right. So I'm of the mind like an education is a powerful thing. It definitely is. And sometimes, I will probably end up going back to school. I've been talking about it for a while. So
Fantastic.
it's going to happen.
Nice.
I think I'm gonna
Is
skip
that more?
over. Huh?
I was gonna say, is that more so just for personal, or is that to develop and put more on your resume?
It's not for my resume. It's personal because I want to sharpen my skills in marketing, in branding, in business across the board. I've been looking at Ivy League schools that have executive programs where if you've been in business for as long at least 10 years or longer and been successful at it, you can get an MBA, executive MBA from these programs. So I don't have to go to the undergrad, I can just skip right over. But also if I go to a school like a Harvard, or Penn, Wharton, or something like that, the connections you make, the relationships you create, I think they are very, very valuable. So I don't look at it like, oh, I can put this on my resume. I'm an entrepreneur. I
Yes.
look at it as relationship building more so
Yeah.
than at this point in the game. But still going to a quality school where you can still sharpen your skills at the same time.
Absolutely. I agree. I graduated from college about 3 years ago now. It's
You're the
crazy to
baby.
hear me say, I know, right? But sometimes I tell myself, dang, I don't know why I spent all this money on going to school when I'm actually going to school for something different. But the relationships, that I actually gained from that was worth, that college debt, or however, you want to put it, but it was definitely worth it. So going into my next question, for those who are, in undergrad or just graduating or whatever, aspect in life they are, how does someone who wants to get into the entertainment industry, how do they go about seeking quality opportunities?
Um, well, for me, like you said, I'm unconventional, so I really can't talk about myself. But most people, I think internships are the best way to get into the industry. And then working very hard. You can't be an intern and be lazy. You still have to hustle hard. You
Mhm.
still have to be an asset to your boss, be indispensable to your boss. Make your boss look at you. I mean, I've hired interns. I don't know if Dana's listening. Dana Jeter is one. Now she's an executive with Viacom because she's dope. And if you show that you want to make it and you work hard and you're thinking outside the box, you can get a position. But if you're being an intern and you just lazy,
On the bare minimum.
every time your boss come by, you're on your cell phone, on IG, It's not going to make it.
Mhm.
Hustlers make it. Hustlers. So whatever you have to do to get in front of the right people, but not be obnoxious, show them your worth. You have to work for free. Even when I started, I was making $500 a week and I had a child. I was a young single parent. So when people tell me, oh, I'm not going to do this for that, and I'm not going to do that, and I don't care.
Mhm.
That shows me that you don't have any heart for this.
How bad do you want it?
Yeah, how bad do you really, really want it? That's really important.
Absolutely.
Speaking of hustling, you worked for Rockefeller when you
I'm
first
sweating.
started,
Uh-huh.
and you worked on the rollout of the classic album Reasonable Doubt. And just
Classic
tell us
album.
what that experience was like.
Oh, we were all young. I love those guys, Damon, Jay, and Biggs. I think they are really intelligent young men. Well, they were young men at the time who took their own money, who did it their way.
Mhm.
Um,
That's
yes, I mean it was three of them, and they just broke down doors. I mean, Jay had a record out before Rockefeller. I was about to call it Rock Nation before Rockefeller started. He was already trying to make it. But I think it took the three of them to really make a power company. And I mean, I remember Damon had this Mercedes Benz, the buggy eye ones. Y'all probably too young to remember what those look like, but they were the hottest Mercedes Benz out during the time. He used that car as a promotional tool. He rapped that, well, he wasn't real rapping back then, but he, put the promotional Jay-Z album artwork, whatever, on the Mercedes and drove around.
because
They
knew it would catch everyone's eye already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also always were positive. See you at the, platinum party. See you at we weren't even platinum. I don't even think we were gold. But they, but they knew it and they spoke it into existence.
Mhm.
And they all brought something different to the party. I really feel like Biggs was the quiet mastermind during that time. He's not as quiet now, but during that time, he was like an observer to me in the office, right? So to me, like when someone is watching everybody, they are really truly masterminding everything,
Mhm.
right? Jay, super intelligent. But what I found with Jay, as he's one of my favorite rappers, but when we would do interviews, he would be like, Tresa, if they don't ask me smart questions, I don't want to do the interview. He wanted to have intelligent conversations way back then. He does not waste his time. He already, he was a genius then. He wanted to have meaningful conversations. And you don't get that from many artists,
You do
right?
not.
That have something to say.
Whew.
So how did you make that connection? How did that connection come about?
I didn't finish talking about Damon.
Go ahead.
I truly feel without Damon, none of that would have been possible. People can say what they want to say about Damon Dash, that he's abrasive, he's this, he's that, he's in your face. If he wasn't in those folks' face during that time, we wouldn't have had the platinum party. And I really feel that. He wasn't taking no for an answer. He fought for Jay like nobody's business. He was amazing. So the three of them together made a power team that was unbreakable.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how did you make that connection to Rockefeller Records and working with them?
Well, at the time, who was I working with? There was a woman named Roberta McGreeny who worked at Priority Records during the time. Rockefeller wasn't distributed by Priority during the time. It was a smaller label. And I'm trying to remember, they had a gun as a logo. Yes, it was the barrel of the gun. And I cannot remember what that company was called. But that was like the underneath Priority Records was this label. And then underneath that was Rockefeller. And but Roberta McGreeny, who's still my friend to this day, she reached out to me and she was like, Rockefeller needs a publicist. I don't know who I was working with at the time. I really don't recall. But I was like, sure, I would do it, you know. And I've had other clients. Master P might have been one of them. I think Master P, I was already working with Master P. So I was breaking Master P, Ice Cream
We're gonna
Man.
name drop. We're gonna
Yeah.
name
Okay.
drop all night, okay?
So I went to, you know, I took the meeting and I met with Damon and I was like, well, it's a little bit of money. So, you know, as long as you don't mind me still working my outside projects and I'll come in. And he was like, cool. So Roberta made the introduction because they were the parent company per se. And that's how I got in with Rockefeller.
Did you know at the time that Reasonable Doubt will be one of the biggest and one of the, you know, the best classic albums to date?
I always love that album. It's still one of my favorite. It's my favorite Jay-Z album. And not just because I worked it. It's just the storytelling is amazing on that record. I mean, you can see, I mean, you see everything anyway, but he was fresh.
Yeah.
It was raw, you know? It was amazing. So I knew that he was special. I knew that record was special and I worked really, really hard. I remember one of my friends, his name is Michael Gonzalez. He was writing for the weekly in New York called The Village Voice. And I was able, getting a Village Voice piece is a big deal, it was a really big deal back then. So I was able to get Michael to do a feature story on Jay. I was so excited. The way that he wrote about Jay, I sent that thing out. We only had faxes then. We didn't have the computer. I sent that thing out to so many people and Michael was like, you made my career. And it's because I believed in that record and I wanted everybody to know just how good this record is, right? So no holds barred. Every chance I got, you know, to preach about this record, to send clips like you're missing out, I made sure I did that.
Doing the legwork.
You have to. You have to. Team player.
All right, so you have over 20 years of experience in the industry.
Yeah.
What is the secret to staying relevant and to staying working?
Being young at heart. Girl, I'm so young. I am so young at heart. Like, listen, I don't even tell people I have a son that age.
They don't have to know.
Listen. He's 15.
he just got a beard and all of that at an early age.
But genetically, I am young at heart. My father was also young at heart. Listen, trap music. I still love it all. I'm embarrassing. I've always been embarrassing to my son and my little cousins love it, you know, because I party with the best of them. I love it all. I love it all. And I think staying relevant in the music industry is not getting jaded. You know, you'll have, I hate when people say OGs. That pisses me off. But you know, you have the young folks call people OGs and they don't know what they talking about. That's the worst thing I, you know, could ever hear. But I think they say it because a person that's been in the business for so long would be like, what's that trash you're making? You know, putting down what they do. But there's, you know, I love the Migos. Okay. Kendrick Lamar, that's my man, but he's kind of like old school. You know, so Lizzo, actually, I met Lizzo before she broke. I met her when she was at, you know, her manager at the time wanted me to represent her at the time, but they didn't have the budget. And it might be like one of my first pictures on Instagram when I said, oh my God, this girl is a star. A star. And look at her now. So I just love music. And I think if you love music, if you truly love music, I can listen to country, I can listen to rock, some rock, not hard rock. You know, I can listen to gospel, just whatever it is, pop music. I'm from Flint, so we grew up on both sides of the track. I just love music. And I think if you really love music, you can stay relevant in this business.
You can. So what are your thoughts about the OGs or a lot of people in the industry that are saying, you know, this new R&B is dead and all of that?
They just, you know what they want? They want that soul stirring R&B to come back. That's all. That's all. And I do feel not the I think the R&B is great. I feel like Black music today, what the industry is putting out,
Mhm.
um, it's it doesn't show the big picture of who we are
Mm.
as a people, creatively, musically. There's still some young D'Angelos out there, but they're not going to give that young D'Angelo, a chance.
Spin. Yeah, he's not gonna get any spins on the radio.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
And it's because we no longer, like back in the 90s, Black folks, Black music during that time was what, and it still is very popular, but it was popular on our terms.
Yes.
You had Black executives in these positions making all flavors of Black music. Hip hop, you had the backpackers, you had the what do you call it? The ones with the ciphers, you had the party rappers. It was just a hodgepodge of music. R&B, you had neo soul, you had straight R&B.
Yeah.
Now, the problem what the OGs have a problem with is that we're selling our kids short.
Mm.
That's the problem. We're selling y'all, and it's not us because they kicked us out of the offices. It's not run by us anymore. It's run by them.
Yeah. How do you think we grab that back or take that back? What is the first steps or
I think independence. I think it needs to go back to the 50s and the 60s and, you know, Motown and the James Browns and the, you know, how they just did things their way on their terms, you know, and made incredible music on their terms and put that stuff, small labels. And I think that if people would start investing in themselves instead of trying to look for a check,
Mm-hmm.
well, you got $1 million, like, oh, I can't sign with you. Okay, you're incredible. You probably don't need the $1 million. Just make it happen. Get yourself a team and make it happen. I think we have to have more people who want to be business owners instead of, like Prince said, slaves. Okay, he wrote slave on his face.
I don't think at all by coincidence that, you know, all of these artists are coming out and they're emphasizing on, you know, being independent, you know, being your own label. I don't think that's by coincidence at all.
It's
Yeah,
important.
I was just about to say with I think we might be, and you can see if you agree or not, that we might be headed back into that because so many people are staying independent.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel right to them.
I think so. I think we're moving back in that direction. And that's when you're going to have more quality music coming out. You know, some of this music is not quality. Let's call a spade a spade.
That's true.
Some of it, a lot of it's not. And too much of it sounds alike.
Mm-hmm. It's oversaturated.
No, there's not enough individuality in music these days. And that's what the OGs have a problem with. Because when the OGs was in control, you had so many, you know, like I said, so many flavors. It's 32 flavors at Baskin Robbins. And you had it, but right now we got chocolate and vanilla. Everybody want to be, you know, Future, you know. They're all, it's too much of the copycat. And I think we need to get out of that.
I agree because you can hear someone nowadays and even the voice sounds alike. You're like, well, hold on, this sounds just like
everything. Same producers, same. Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get back on track. What is some of the pivotal moments or placements that you had in your career that confirmed that you were one of the best publicists, you know, in the industry?
I don't think there was a pivotal moment. I think that the fact that I've been here since 1992, working for myself the majority of the time, still working with relevant artists, you know, helping Yo Gotti crossover, helping Future crossover, you know, I'm still working with relevant artists from the 90s up into 2020. I think that should say something for itself. Now, I am not the one to be doing these interviews. I am not the one to be on the Instagram. I am not the one to toot my own horn. I just don't do all of that. I think that the work should speak for itself. There's one There's one other publicist that has been doing it as long as me for themselves, even though I have gone in-house a couple of times, right? But Chris Chambers, I'm just want to give him a shout out to. I met him when I first started doing business, and he has the Chambers Group, and they're still doing business independently. So there's a lot. So I would say longevity proves that you're, one of the best at what you do.
Yeah, not a one-hit wonder. You keep giving hits, keep giving hits.
Yes, yes. And so, and I learned from Bill Adler is my sensei. He's a legend in rap music. He was one of Russell Simmons' first employees, along with Lisa Cortez, who is amazing. Yeah, I should get her on here. He taught me that a record should not outlive its story. So if you tell a great story about your artist, if you really dig deep and get to know who they are and tell their story, then that artist can live on forever. So that's a key to longevity itself, not just for you, but for your clients. Not just pitching a record, but pitching a person.
Absolutely. We're gonna dive deeper into this. I'm excited that you brought that up.
Oh, really?
Go ahead, Roddy.
Okay. Can you give us 3 good tips to help aspiring publicists format a good pitch that potential clients will actually read?
All right. Interview your client as if you're a journalist. All right. That's really, really important because people don't do that. Like I said, they'll just get a record and say, oh, that record's hot. Let me pitch it. Oh, this is a hot record. No, pitch a storyline along with the record, right? Learn how to speak in your client's voice. So that means that you become, a magician. Be prepared to be a magician, to do the impossible for your client. Turn over every single rock. Don't stop. I was talking about Bill. Also, he taught me that you just don't live in an urban space. You also, meaning when I worked, I lived in a mainstream space. I remember one time I was working for Loud Records, which is a street, underground, no radio play, amazing independent label. Wu-Tang came out of there, 3 6 Mafia, all of that. So I remember Bad Boy was trying to get me to come over and be the head of their publicity department. And one of the executives over there was like, oh, this Bad Boy, that's Loud Records, you can't compare the two. Like, she was really hating on me. Like, oh, you work for Loud, you work for the street. This is classy. I'm like, yeah, I work for Loud. And no, we didn't get any airplay, but did you see Wu-Tang on the cover of Rolling Stone? Oh, okay. Yeah, no airplay. We did that. Did you see 3 6 Mafia and People magazine? Oh, okay. Yeah, I did that. I don't see Bad Boy getting all of that. But perception is everything, right?
It is.
So once I had to lay it down like that, she couldn't say a word. So turn every rock over, because don't be afraid. Like, you think you have a rapper, so you only can go to Complex, or you can only go to Double XL. No, like, go ahead and pitch, Rolling Stone. Go ahead, just go think outside the box. Think fashion. Sit with your client, find out what their hobbies are. Think, it's not just about music, it's also about lifestyle, right?
So when you talk about all of those placements, what are some great techniques to developing a successful brand strategy for talent or whoever?
I think the kings of successful brand strategy was Motown Records. Not Motown. Yeah, Motown Records in Detroit. Barry Gordy laid the blueprint for branding, which all the millennials think they came up with. Right? It was Motown that came up with branding. So what it was, artist development, right? It's developing a campaign that stays true to who you are. Motown was about, the shops, You know, everybody working man music, but we still fly too. We clean because we make money. Work in these shops. So they had a whole brand of what Motown was. They took them through artist development. They had media coaching. They had it before everybody else was doing it. He taught them how to stand. That's branding, but also branding should be staying true to yourself. So again, that goes back to knowing what the product is, or in this instance, music, knowing who your artist is and making sure that artist stays true to themselves. That's the foundation of great branding. Don't make up stories about people. I don't believe in it. I know a lot of people like to do stunts and all of that. I don't think that's proper branding. It's not long lasting, you know? So really diving deep in who you are as an artist and staying true to that.
So how did you know, at a certain point that was actually your skill set to see something in someone and actually expand on that and make that a bigger picture?
I don't think it's a skill set.
Why is that?
Not for me, because I love people and people are interesting to me. So I naturally want to know like what makes them tick, right? I naturally want to know all about them. So I don't know if it's a skill set for me. It's nothing that I honed in on, right? It's just a natural thing for me.
Yeah.
Well, even tapping into the mind of a consumer, right? So seeing this, these, characteristics or things that will gravitate to your audience, what did that look like? Or how did those conversations come about where you said, you know what, I think the audience or your fans would love this. Let's put this on a bigger platform.
I don't know. What you're making me think about is Royce the 5'9". We just had a conversation the other day during the pandemic. He started giving people money and helping them out, but also helping them to see how it moves around in the community. And this has nothing to do with music, right? So that is a brand all in itself, like someone that gives back to the community, right? You could take what they're doing, it's sincere, as long as it's sincere, and create a bigger platform for that. Like I said, people need to know you're doing this. And it's funny because he was doing an interview and LL came on and they start talking about LL Cool J noticed what he was doing quietly in the community. So paying attention to what your client is doing and building off, okay, so you like to give back, you like to teach, you want to teach your community. Let's create a platform around unity in the community, or, or whatever it is, right? Yeah. So it's just kind of, again, it's like learning who they are and doing authentic campaigns around who they are.
I was about to say, it still goes back to them staying true to who they are as an artist throughout.
Yeah, because then you get the best conversations out of them, right? So if you're trying to make somebody something that they're not, and then it's flat.
I could definitely see that. Just, exposing what you do, but in a good way and being transparent about it.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So the next question was going to be, how was it balancing Trey Media, but also working with
media?
What I say? Tree. Yes, Tree Media. Sorry. How was it, dealing with Tree Media, and also working with major record labels? So for someone who, is working a 9 to 5, but they know when they come home, they have to focus, on other business entities that they want to build up. So for example, in your bio, you talked about having So Def and No Limit Records as your clients. How was that like, knowing that you had household clients over here, but also, working for major labels?
You mean what's the difference between the two, or
how did you balance those two?
With a team. It wasn't just me. There's no way.
Right, absolutely.
There's no way, so I am not the only publicist for Tree Media. I have a team. I've always had a team. So it's a company. And see, that's the problem with Black people.
Talk about it. Come
No,
on.
it really is. It's a problem on a whole bunch of levels because as a Black person in business, or maybe it's a Black woman, because I don't know how because I don't think Black men get the same kind of treatment. I would have to, I do have a gift of making each client feel like they are the only client in the whole wide world. I take every single call, I return calls quickly to my clients. Any questions I pay attention to them. And that's really important to me. And because of that, they don't allow you to grow as a Black woman. We're talking about Black balance, right? So I'll have, okay, so I got Kelly. Kelly, I need you to handle Jay. I don't know. I'm just going to say Jay since we've been talking about him. Jay doesn't want to talk to Kelly. Jay only wants to talk to me. Mm. So that's a problem in our business as Black people, because if it was a white corporation, Edelman PR, they're allowed to have 500 employees. But there are very few Black firms, PR firms that have 500 employees. And it's just not fair. And even in advertising, there were like, I don't know, maybe a dozen Black advertising firms. And then they all started disappearing. And I think it's because when a person buys into our company, then they want Ronnie, that's it. And they don't want to talk to this one or that one. But so I had to quietly have my team work, while I'm the face of the company, working too, because I'm very hands-on, of course, but there's no way you can do all of those clients at the same time and not have a team. It's not possible. I don't think a person can truly give 100% to 7 clients.
Right.
It's not possible, at the same time. And then there's that limit. We're limited, because of who we are. And I think Black women suffer from that in business a lot. Growth is a problem.
So how do you go about building your team?
It's been very difficult in Atlanta. I hate to say it. It's true. I've had a lot of turnover in Atlanta, but in New York, I don't know. That was very sharp in New York.
Atlanta, y'all better get it together out here.
Together. But I really look at personality. Okay. In media relations, you have to have an outgoing personality. You need to smile when you talk. You need to be a homegirl naturally, not fake. Mm-hmm. You need to be able to hold conversations. You need to know how to write. That's really important to me. If you cannot write, I cannot work with you. If you have, bad diction, it's really difficult for me to work with you as well. But look for people who are kind of like me, who don't get ruffled easily. I have been called the devil that wears Prada. So it's very important. I'm trying not to be that person now, but it's very important. It's very important to have people who don't get ruffled. Like, this is just business. Let's get it done. Let's just get the business done.
Well, the $1 million question, are you actively seeking, employees for the team?
Yeah. You got somebody?
Maybe. We'll talk after the call. Go ahead, Rodney.
I am right at this time. Yes. Yep.
So we talked about you were a single mother when you started out. So across all businesses in every industry, women are trying to figure out how to balance relationships, motherhood, all these different things. How was that for you starting out and just throughout your career? How was that balance for you?
Well, let's see. Most of the time I worked from home, right? When my son was very, very young, I worked from home. Even though I don't know if he realizes he had the best of both worlds, right? He had dinner, homework was being checked, mom was home. So it was easy for me to do it. But when I went in-house, he was older though. He was older. So, that was also a blessing to have been able to work from home until, he was maybe in junior high school. And then I started working at, in offices in the city more so, than I did. And it was cool at that point. But any parent, I think no parent is perfect, not one. And you can do everything in your power to be as perfect as you can. But you're going to make mistakes. And I think people should understand that we all make mistakes. I tried my best, but I think I could have done some better balancing in certain areas. Like, so if I'm in work mode and I happen to be home, you cannot mess with me. You can't talk to me. You cannot, nothing. I'm at work. This is my work circle. And you're over, okay, you home? Okay, do your homework. Talk to me later. That kind of thing. But it's tough, but I think it's doable. Black women can do everything.
Yeah,
Black women are super women. I mean, my mom worked 2 jobs, went to school, and had 4 kids. And I go to work and come home and be tired to cook. And I'm like, Jesus, what was she doing? I don't get it.
I think it's different though when you have kids because something else clicks.
I think that's true. When you have kids, you become a superwoman. Most women, I'm not saying that every single woman is made to be a mother, but most people, I think most women, when they become when they have children, their whole outlook on life changes. And I think that happens for men too. Men that are involved with their children.
Yeah,
I think it changes for them too. Yeah.
Now, was that a kick or a push into you when you had Drew to say, you know what, if I'm gonna do this, I need to be really serious and put 1,000% in this?
No, it was already my personality.
Okay.
When I was in the military, I was supervising people that were double my age. So I've always been a boss. I didn't know I was a boss, but I was pretty much a boss. But I just didn't realize it. It's just the work ethic that I have in me naturally. And I remember, so I always wanted to be 4.0. That's what we used to call it in the military. 4.0 means perfect score, right? You get your grades all A's. I needed all the A's. And that was, I didn't need them, but I always got them. And I didn't really realize the level that I worked at. So for me, it was just natural. And I naturally wanted to do my best at all times. That's just what it was. So when I had Drew, I was just naturally a worker bee, period. That's just who I was. But I became a mom, so I'm naturally going to be the best mom that I could possibly be. So we're going to do our own field trips, and I'm going to help you with your homework. Oh, you don't understand that? I'm going to get you a tutor. Oh, I'm going to do, so I'm always like high level, whatever it is, I'm going to try and do the best that I could do. And I think because I have a happy-go-lucky personality too. I did,
switch. It's a good balance of being firm. Don't play with me at the same time, but we cool too.
Yes, that's how Tauruses are. Okay.
What would you say is the biggest lesson you have learned throughout your career?
What did Q-Tip say? Industry people are shady. They are. It's a lot of shade out there. The biggest lesson that I learned, though, for me is I've never been industry. And I feel like that's taken me far because I never got wrapped up in the hype of industry. I've never, it wasn't important for me. And it's important now because, it's important for folks. But I had a child. Remember this. I had a young child at home. So I was never at the parties. I was never at the after parties. Only when if I had to work. Other than that, I had to be home with my child. I was the only person I remember people saying, because, I had Drew early 20s. And I remember people saying, you're the only friend we have that has a kid. and you don't hang out, but you so cool, because I am cool. And I don't feel like you have to be of the industry to be in the industry, because a lot of it's tricky. It's very tricky. It's very, very tricky. And I think the fact that I did separate, I had a real life outside of it, made me sustain my career a lot longer.
Kept you grounded.
Yeah, it kept me grounded. I'm not going crazy. I'm about to commit suicide. People commit suicide in this business. It's for real. They used to.
That's
They
so
There's a lot of money being made. So
Yeah.
if the money gets taken away from you, it's like, oh, I'm gonna cut you're stupid.
That's crazy. So when you talk about longevity and being in the industry so long, the industry transitioning to be more digital focused and more social media driven, how have you been able to adapt to that new norm?
Oh, it was exciting for me when we got computers. I love a challenge. So I embraced it right away. I may have been one of the few publicists at that time that embraced it. Like, I always believed if let's say a platform did great work, it didn't matter how big they were, I wanted to support them. So these new digital platforms are coming through. Nobody knows what they are, who they are. I thought it was exciting. So I always embraced it from the very, very beginning. A lot of things failed back then. I know Russell Simmons was one of the first, he had one of the first entertainment platforms before all of these platforms. It failed because people did not believe in the internet back then. But I did. I was always supporting. So the change, the digital age coming in was great for me. To me, I just looked at it as more avenues to get the word out. That's it. It's just work.
Click of a button.
That's it. It's easy. Let's do it.
It is.
Yeah.
Nice. So we're going to wrap this up. You've given us so many gems tonight. But the last question we want to ask is, what do you want your legacy to be when it's all said and done?
She was honest. She worked hard, and she had a big heart. That's it.
Morals.
Boom. Exactly.
No, that's important, just to have someone talk about your character. You want your character to stand for something.
Mm-hmm.
That'll take you a long way, no matter what, no matter where you want to go or no matter what you want to be.
That's true. Sometimes I feel bad when I'm talking to clients. I'm like, okay, no, I ain't like that video. That's not gonna work. And I feel bad about it, but I can't help it. I don't want to lie to people. These artists get lied to way too much.
Too many yes
People
men.
are yes men all day long. I don't live in that world, and I'll never live in that world. So if you work with me, you're gonna get it straight, no chaser.
You always have to tell them or remind them, you'll thank me in the longer run. You'll appreciate that I told you not to do this.
Exactly.
But you want to wrap it up, Ronnie?
Yes. Thank you again so much for joining us tonight. I'm pretty sure we'll be working with you in the future. I also want to say thank you for always supporting RnBuntapped. I know Drew is your son, but I just love to see it. I love to see you at every event. So I just want to thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And shout out to Drew, RnBuntapped. Please follow us on all platforms. Ms. Sanders, where can they find you? Where can they follow you? How can they get in contact with you?
Okay, so the Tree Media IG is Tree Media Inc. My personal is Tresa Sanders. I don't mind people following me on either one. And what else? Twitter. I should be ashamed of myself, but I'll do this. I think my Twitter is Tree Media. Tresa Sanders, like one or the other. Okay. I don't. Yeah. Wrong answer.
Just type it in and hope they find you.
And then again, if they wanted to intern with you or anything like that, should they just reach out to you through social media, or is there an email that they can contact?
Yeah, if they want to intern, they could reach out to Kelly, and it's Kelly, KELLI, at TRE-media.net.
Well, there you go, folks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. This was fun. I hope you guys
Yes.
have fun.
I did. Thank you for the gems that you dropped. Truly appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.